All right, welcome to this Bargue Drawing demo. I wanted to go over my materials real quick before I get started. I have three different grades of graphite pencils. The middle grade is an HB. This is equivalent to your number 2 writing pencil. I have a 2B, which is a softer lead, which I'll use for laying in darker shading or darker passages quickly. And I have an H lead, which is a harder lead, which will be useful for light midtones and very subtle detail work. Now, I also have a pencil holder. These are easy to find, widely available, but they're great for shorter pencils like this. Stick it in. Now you've extended the length of this pencil, so you don't have to reach for the new one quite yet. You can keep on using that pencil. Now, I also have a sandpaper block, which I've made with just a very basic piece of wood, glued moderate grit sandpaper to it, and I'll use this to sharpen my pencils. What I do is take an X-Acto knife, whittle this down first, and then use this long drawn out stroke across the sandpaper until, with some patience, you arrive at this nice long kind of tapered point. This is great for keeping your pencils very sharp because a sharp pencil is that's your weapon of choice. A dull pencil is hard and more difficult to control. You want to keep your pencil sharp. So I also have here the kneaded eraser. Kneaded eraser is definitely a tool that I love to use. It's very useful. You can shape it into different shapes. You can rip it apart. One of the great things about these is you can shape it into a nice curled little point, use that to lift off darker flecks of the paper to balance out your tone. They're easy to clean, they're self-clean. You just keep on rolling it together until you have a nice kind of clean surface, then you can keep on using it. The last tool I have is actually a knitting needle. Now, some people will use a length of string. I like to use a knitting needle. This you'll see me using during the demo to take measurements on a drawing and also to check angles. So you'll see me do a lot of that and I'll talk more about it. All right, let's get started. Now I've used a regular laser printer to print out this copy. In this case, there's a large shadow area, a large light area, and a little bit of halftone between the two. So the quality I'm going to get from a laser printer and regular copy paper is plenty sufficient for this particular bark. Now a more complex bark that had a little bit more subtlety in the halftones, I'd probably use an inkjet printer with some quality photo paper. Now, the first thing you'll notice is right down the middle, I've drawn this dark line. This is the plumb line. It's really a vertical line that I can put on my bark print and then put on my drawing, and I'll use that line to help me get preliminary measurements and judge the accuracy of my other measurements as I progress through the drawing. So you'll notice that I've placed the plumb line basically right in the center of this drawing, and it intersects the highest point on the ankle. It splits the base underneath the heel roughly in half, and it intersects pretty much the edge of this shadow shape by the ankle bone. So in this case, going right down the middle of the bark drawing turns out to be a great placement for the plumb line. However, with any bark drawing, you're going to have perhaps different spots to the left or to the right that would be a better choice of where to put the plumb line. It doesn't just have to be in the middle. You want to put it in a position where you're going to get several measurements already lined up for you. Because you're drawing this plumb line on your paper as well, then you're going to be able to nail those positions horizontally on the drawing right away because you know they intersect the plumb line. And then as you go forward in the drawing, for instance in this drawing, if I find out, well, wait a minute, I have a lot more space on the left of this plumb line than I do on the right when I'm looking at the base, obviously I've made a mistake. So in your first bark drawing, the plumb line is just a great tool to give you a jump start and help you check your initial measurements. All right, let's get started on the block end. Okay, so you can see here I've completed the first pass on the block end. I've kept things very simple. I like to say block ends are meant to be blocky. You can see I've brought out this big dark shape here that we can see on the right side of the foot. I've brought out the big light shape here that comprises the rest of the ankle and the heel. I've tried to capture some of the bigger measurements and angles. In particular, you can see this angle here on the right side by the ankle. Rather than going in and finding all these little curves at this point, I've just used a single line to approximate that entire area. Same down here as we could go from the ankle bone down to, I guess, would be the front of the foot. I found this angle, and that's what I've included on my block end. So that's really the key at this phase, is keeping the shapes very simple, working on the overall measurements of the big areas. So, how wide is this across the foot? Making sure that's the same on my block end. How tall is this? Taking this vertical measurement, making sure that's right. And then looking at these big angles that we can see represented here. This is another big one from the bottom of the heel up to about midway. Making sure that these angles match. That's what I'm focusing here on this first pass. Now in the next pass, I'm going to refine this block in, and I'm going to add in some indications for these smaller shadow areas, as well as finish off with a few lines just to indicate other little forms of the foot here.